how soft is Tommy Pham.
Poor Tommy Pham.
And then the more you're looking into this, it's freaking Doc. Doc Macaroon is somehow involved. He is right there in the thick of it. And joins us now, Doc Macaroon, Detroit Sports Podcast, SI.com. Doc, welcome to the show, my friend.
What up, Doc?
Fellas, it's a great Friday. First and foremost, if Ryan's like that, then you would get pointed at by Tommy Pham. You would get the finger too and be like, what is going on with the fans heckling the Pittsburgh Pirates? But I want to say this. I was not thrown out. I was not the target of Tommy Pham. But if you point your finger at the Doc, you know I'm going to stand up and say something.
Oh, my.
Hey, Doc, he needs you because I know this is your job to help people that are angry, upset, whatever. Tommy Pham needs you.
Yeah, no doubt. Wasn't he the guy that got into it with a teammate for freaking fantasy football? This guy is the epitome of soft. And the reason why everybody got upset with him is that it was after an hour-long rain delay that everybody was ready to go home. And look, we can be honest here. We're among friends. We were drinking, and we were having a good time for the course of 5 hours. Ryan, now having seen that I've been in the home plate club, they give you a lot of food, and they give you a lot of drinks, and that's why I sat in those seats for about 4 of the 9 innings, but I definitely wanted to see what was going on in the 9th and 10th inning. It's wild to say, but maybe I should have took the advice of my 15-year-old nephew and stayed in the Tiger Suite and kept eating. But I was like, no, it's competitive. It's the 9th and 10th inning. I want to go see what happens. And look what happened. A player is pointing at the home plate club, and now half the world who didn't really watch the game then, it would appear, because I was still there after everybody got thrown out. I was one of the people posting the videos of the people getting thrown out, yet I'm getting blown up. I must maybe present a Middle Eastern anger syndrome or something where people thought I was the one that triggered Pham. But in the end, it was wild, but it was definitely fun to be a part of something like that. But yeah, I was a fan standing up to him and really in the end saying, hurry the heck up, man, focus on the game, not the fans booing you because your team stinks.
Hey, Doc, what was said? What did tick him off?
Yeah, no doubt. Now, this is the funny part. So, myself included, we're shown on this massive screen there at Comerica Park, the replay. And from what you see on one of the state-of-the-art screens, from what we were looking at, it appeared that Jake Rogers tagged Pham. We all saw it, and it looked like, we all thought, no doubt about it, they're going to do a replay, and it's going to come back and be out. And it comes back safe. Now, we didn't have no TV replays. We're all just watching the same replay over and over and over that shows him out. It looks like he's out. Now, maybe there's other stuff that you guys got to see at home.
No, he was totally out, Doc. Doc, he was totally out.
Exactly. So from that moment, the fan base went livid. And I'm talking about, you can hear, if you rewatch the game, right when Pham starts pointing, you can hear expletives and the fans just yelling and being upset at the umpire, being upset at the Pirates. They just kept getting worse and worse and more frustrated because there was a true feeling that the Tigers got robbed. So the fans were livid and they were cussing up a storm throughout the at-bats. And so something was said clearly that probably was inappropriate. But in my humble opinion, Pham handled it totally incorrectly by escalating the problem. You don't throw out fans and point. What you do is you're a professional. Your job as a professional is to turn your head and focus on the pitcher. Try to get a little extra nugget of information. Try to get a little extra and not be focusing on the fan base. So I thought he handled it totally incorrectly. I felt like the fans should not have been thrown out. And look, at the very least, if you're a paying customer and you say something that's inappropriate, then you just, get moved to a different section and still enjoy the game. There was only 10 minutes left anyway. But Pham totally escalated the problem by acting like a sophomoric athlete that couldn't handle names being called at him. That's the first part of the job. When you sign your name, you realize fans are going to, especially from the opposite side, read the room. You didn't think that the fan base was going to be pissed after seeing the replay and seeing the call that was made. The fan base was pissed. You just shut your ears off, Focus on what you need to do and take the win and leave out the door. That's in my opinion, the job of a professional when you ink your name to all that money is to take some heckling from some fans, because guess what? There was a net there. What was going to happen? Nothing was going to happen. There was a big, huge net protecting us in the home plate club from you. So I thought he escalated the problem by pointing out whatever the heck he was hearing and kicking out fans. That's totally inappropriate.
Hey.
And I think that's something that I just don't like when athletes do that.
How about what happened out in the bullpen? The Pirates pitcher going after the fan that was wearing the Roberto Clemente jersey and a Tigers hat. I don't know what was said back and forth, but you cannot swing at a fan like that guy did.
That's the easiest thing, Tom, is to show self-restraint, is to just act like you didn't hear it and keep it moving. I've done interviews where people, like literally in this whole situation, I'm the one that's being labeled as somebody that was a triggering person. I'm not. I smile. I go on interviews with people that are doing it, and I say, look, I just go at it. And actually, I posted about it a couple days ago. Sports are fun. People are going to make references. They're going to say things in the context of an interview. If you're going to get upset and frustrated over things that are said, then you're going to put yourself and your team in a very, very unwelcoming light. That's something that nowadays you're also setting yourself up for fans to sue you. You're setting up another situation for a league to have a similar incident like Malice at the Palace. So if you're an athlete, it's real simple. I know it's tough, but I'm an expert at it. When someone says something to you, even if it's offensive, even if it's at the lowest of the low, bringing up family, you turn your head, you mind your business. It'll continue to happen. You have no influence over what liquored up fans are going to say. And only now what happens is when you do that, here's the byproduct. When you do that, all you're doing is setting up more people to continue to do it, to say, oh, I got him riled up. The easiest thing to do is diffuse it, ignore it, go about your business, prepare. Fans are going to talk. That's what they pay to do. And even if it is on the wild side, once you ignore it, it's just another day at the office. You cash your check, you go home. That's part of your job description, in my opinion, is to show professionalism, class. You're a professional. You're supposed to be above the fans in the stands that are really, in the end, just there to try and rattle you in any way they can, because, hey, we're trying to influence the game in some way to say, hey, we got under your skin, or we're trying to talk junk. Now, I did talk junk to the Pirates, but I'm never offensive. I am a heckler. And when I'm a fan, I'm a paying customer, I'm not going to be offensive and bring up family members. But all I was saying was, my first thought on some of these Pirates hitters with their batting average was, I don't know why it came to me, but I just kept yelling out infield power. And my nephew was laughing, and I started laughing. So I kept doing it more. So I'm yelling out. That was the cost for me to pay for those tickets, was to be able to say something funny in my head out loud, get a reaction, and keep it moving. Now, is that offensive? I don't think so, but it was funny to me. I was yelling out infield power while the pitcher was throwing the ball. So that's what was going on in my world. But like I said, I'm always a guy that has a boundary. I know the line. I never cross it. But sometimes fans who are spending their money are going to spend a lot of money on alcohol, and they're going to let things fly that are really, in the end, ridiculous, rude, and derogatory, and quite offensive, that they would never say in a different state. That's the job of the athlete, to deal with it. In my humble opinion, the athlete needs to deal with it.
John Doc Macaroon joins us, Detroit Sports Podcast, one of our faves. We always talk Lions with you, Doc, but you were at that game last night. Before I ask you about the Tigers and Lions, how was the home plate club? How'd you get tickets? And explain it, because Ryan
That's all I care about, actually. That's exactly where I was going next.
Ryan wants to know, why don't the Tigers put people in those seats? Because it looks so bad on television.
Can I? I'm sorry to jump in here, man.
Jump in.
Can you walk me through, Doc, your process? You don't have to tell me how much or anything like that. Like,
I want to know how much.
Did you get the tickets? Were you gifted the tickets? You know somebody with tickets? How does it work?
Yeah, no. Once I realized that the Pirates were coming in, potential of Skeen Skubal, I started looking on the secondary market. Nice. And I knew that once the game was canceled on Wednesday, there might be a chance someone maybe couldn't go, might throw them up there at lower value. So, and that's what happened. I went on a secondary market, and they were far below value because someone was trying to get rid of them. So I scooped them up. So I paid on the secondary market a decent price. It was face value is $500 a ticket. Wow. I paid about $175 per ticket.
Wow, that's incredible.
So to me, that's value for all you can eat, all you can drink. Now, those seats are pretty much all sold.
Yes.
There was maybe 4 tickets that were available. They were all sold. But the people are eating. They're drinking. There's literally 40 different varieties of food, candy. Alex DeBrincat was there hanging out in the Tigers Club. So you get to have the comfy confines of a nice place to enjoy. And so my nephew and I sat for the first couple innings. Then we went and ate. Then they switch up the menu in the 5th inning. You get dessert, coffee. So we hung out until the 9th inning in the Tiger Club. Then I said to him, my nephew, I said, let's get back down there and let's finish this game out. And I know that half the fans are not sitting there. Let's get ourselves on TV and have a good time. And let's enjoy this opportunity to really take advantage. So anybody can buy it. Is it worth it for one single game? Absolutely. We ate, we drank, we laughed, we were comfortable. Now, in the grand scheme of things, if I was a corporate business owner and wanted to pay for that every single day and for the whole year, not yet worth it. I think my nephew said it. They just need to do everything grander. If you're trying to sell this as luxury, because of the game was started maybe an hour after, there were still, people saw the video. There were still some stuff on the chairs that was not cleaned up properly. Right. I feel like they needed to, even in the rain delay, clean up when we got back. They just left everything. I feel like it needs to be even more upscale if you're going to charge people $50 to $100K per year. On a one-game basis, absolutely go do it. But you needed to wheel this out when you finished it, not when you half finished it just to do a money grab. But that's how the Illiches want to operate it. I would, like I said, if you're going to appeal to those that can spend it. My nephew said it. He's not this way, but he said it. He's like, you got to do it grander. Like, you need to have 5 cutting stations. You got to make it grand. You got to have meats galore. You got to have it pristine in terms of customer service. They did the best they could within the confines of a rainy day and stuff like that. Listen, you got to treat this like you're dealing with the elite of the elite, and they're not going to tolerate substandard service.
So Doc, let me just say this, and I don't care if they wanted to charge $1 million per game for those tickets. Those tickets are sold and are going to be scooped up. My questions have surrounded ways to improve the experience, not only for those in the park, but those watching on TV. Because you yourself just said you might have watched 4 innings in the seats. That is where my focus is. I don't care about the business end. I think it looks beautiful. The background is completely beautiful. It is perfect. They did a great job.
Yep.
I don't care what they sell the tickets for. That is the business end of it. I would never say you shouldn't make this kind of money if you could make that kind of money. The tickets are sold for these games. My questions surround how can they get the butts in the seats? Because that's the part that looks terrible to me. And
yes,
I have just said, why not have seat fillers or something like that? Where if Doc Macaroon is sitting watching the game, maybe a Tigers employee, somebody in the sales staff, somebody wherever.
But if you're moving people around, when those other people come back, who the hell wants to move back and forth?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're not going to bring somebody from upstairs, but maybe a Tigers employee or somebody. You've got to have like 100 people, less than 100 people in that stadium that would be up for doing something like that. What do you think?
Ryan, it's real simple. This is a logistical thing you're talking about. Here's a simple thing. More vendors to bring you the food. There was maybe one for the whole time I was there that said, hey, can I get you anything for 300 people? All you got to do is have 5-6 attendants. Hey, you want a Pepsi? You want a drink? Hey, I'm more than down to sit in the game and watch it. But the food and the drink were in the right field.
Right.
We're in right field. So that's a 10-minute walk to get there.
That's going to change, though. That'll change.
That's going to change.
Yes.
So that's what I think is going to be logistical, is that when they build the club right near the seats, this is just a temporary situation. But you're absolutely right. It's an eyesore. It doesn't look exactly right in terms of television, but that's what they sacrificed for having the people there. And what was funny was there was a lot of people trying to get in those seats that didn't belong there, but the ushers were definitely on their game in terms of making sure that people sat there properly. Look, you can't – listen, in the end, I bought the seats. And that's the spot that you say, hey, I got to do what I got to do with them. I chose to watch 4 innings. And, hey, you could at least give me the credit. I watched the best part of the game. My nephew didn't even want to come back. He was like, I want to keep eating ice cream. I want to have more desserts.
Right.
I was like, come on, let's go. It's competitive. I want to see the walk-off win. And he's like, all right. He's like, you serious? And I'm like, yeah, let's go do it. And he definitely was loving the opportunity that we had. But listen, it's one of those deals. It's a trade-off. You sell those tickets for a profit, but it doesn't look great on television. You're absolutely right.
I totally understand why they wouldn't just let people come. I want to be very clear about that. You can't just unless you have a process, you can't just let people come down and sit there, because so much more goes along with that seat. Right? I mean, when you're in that seat, then you
need your ticket when you go inside.
I guess you wouldn't need the ticket, yes. But
to sit out there, you could just sit out there.
Fair enough. Let me ask you this, Doc. You say this is in right field, and I know they're building it closer to the home plate, actually closer to home plate. And I think that's going to open up pretty soon at the end of July or in July or something like that.
It would have been open, but they had pipes that broke during the winter.
Exactly. But, like, don't you think, Doc, also that on a 90-degree day, let's say the Tigers were home this week, the next 5 days, it's going to be 95 degrees out. Don't you believe also that wherever it is, right field or underneath, if you're at that game, if you have that seat, you're still going to go to the game, but now you're just going to be in the club watching the game, eating and drinking, maybe seeing an inning.
That's what I do in the Champions Club.
Yeah.
The Champions Club is above third base. And I'm lucky enough that I have Drew Lane, gives me tickets a lot.
Shout out
to the Drew Lane podcast. I get to go up there often, and you could sit outside and watch the game, or you could sit inside the air conditioner. But you have the opportunity to watch the game all the time. But not in the home plate club. You're either sitting outside or you're sitting inside with you eating.
No, but there's a vantage point. No, I got great photos. You can see the whole game. That's why people enjoy sitting there. You get the open window. You get to see the entire game. It's lovely. No, it's a viewing experience.
There's a window
we got
there?
to see the
Where the
team
hell's
tie
the
the game
window?
up. There's big windows there that you can see the games and see it fully. And so that's why guys. No, I don't think that a portion of the fans didn't want to watch the Tigers. You can sit there and enjoy it from the comfy seats inside and watch baseball. So it's just a different vantage point that you have. And then you can go to a restroom and get more drinks when you need to. So that is why they are not filled. It's just that's the opportunity that is presented. But I do agree.
Doc. You're talking about the Tiger Club. Of course, there's windows there, but there's no windows at the home plate club, where the food is going to be in a few weeks or a month. There's nowhere for you to sit inside and see the game unless you're watching the television. That's what I'm saying.
Like I said. So what you're saying is, like I said, that the eyesore problem may not resolve itself.
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion that when you pay for those seats, the Tigers made the conscious decision that they would sacrifice the viewing audience in terms of what it looks like. And Major League Baseball across the board has a similar problem. It's not only a Tigers problem, that they would sacrifice that for the increased revenue, because this was something that was born from those more. Because what happens is every year fans are given surveys, and what was told by the Tigers and what was relayed to them was that fans wanted more luxury opportunities, and those seats are flying. And that's what the Tigers decided to do, was to listen to those fans that said, hey, we want more opportunities to have luxury items, luxury seating. And I'm not gonna lie, those seats, heating and cooled. Now I will say this, they weren't regulated in terms of where I was sitting. I had tickets to the home plate club, but it was not directly behind home plate. I found myself there, and nobody cared to ask. So
Beautiful.
I took advantage of it.
Talking to Doc Macaroon, Detroit Sports Podcast, and, of course, Lions writer for SI.com. Let me talk about those Lions for a second. There's so much.
We're like a month away from the game.
Training camp.
And the game.
Right? And the Hall of Fame game. I saw Mark Schlereth on one of the – yeah, he was on one of the podcasts just today or the other day, and he said, yeah, the Lions are still – a threat in the NFC. And my question is, who's better than them in the NFC? What do you mean threat? Who's better than the Detroit Lions in the NFC?
Oh, it's a great question. No, look, they're still in the class. They're still in the top 5. It's not a question of who's better. I just think that what now you've seen is that the gap maybe between the Lions and the rest, remember the Lions last year, number 1 seed, 15-2 record, the gap has gotten a little bit smaller between the Rams, the Commanders, and the Eagles. You got teams like them loading up on the offensive side. You got Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams. You have a great defensive line there with Jared Verse, and you realize, okay,